Hey guys, today we're doing a Q&A. This first question comes from somebody by the name of me. Who would win, 10 pigeon-sized bears or 1 bear-sized pigeon? After doing a bit of research, I saw that polar bears are about 5 feet tall and 1,300 pounds on average, whereas pigeons are about 35 centimeters long and 380 grams on average. If you switch the sizes and scale the weights to match, the 10 bears would weigh approximately 300 pounds apiece, whereas the pigeon would end up weighing about 70 pounds. Now, bears aren't accustomed to fighting an opponent that's airborne, so they would definitely be at a disadvantage if it was an even fight. But the bears would be able to scratch the pigeon very easily. Now, thankfully, they don't have opposable thumbs, so they can't really grab the legs or the wings all that easily. But because they're all muscle, they're going to be able to injure it very heavily if they catch it. Now, I'm going to assume that the pigeon can still fly, even if it probably wouldn't be able to, just physically speaking. But I'm going to give it the benefit of doubt and give it the ability to fly. Now, with the way that pigeons fly, it would be able to damage the bears from above pretty well while keeping some space. But as soon as it gets caught by the bears, it's screwed. Now, pigeons are really smart, so it would be able to use this to its advantage. But because of how their bones are hollow, any injury to their bones would be fatal and they would end up losing the fight. As a result of all of this, I am of the opinion that the bears would win 9 times out of 10, but that one time would be a marvel. Alright, this second question comes from someone by the name of you. Would you rather have all bricks in the world turned into cubes or all roads turned into grass? Buildings made of bricks command a certain level of respect throughout the world, and they have a great deal of importance to the people of many countries. For example, in the UK, a red brick university is one that was built in the late 19th or early 20th century. And in the UK, to be an old building is to be a very respectable one. And bricks have been used in general for many centuries, meaning that almost all buildings that are made of bricks are associated with being very old and therefore very respectable. Now, because they have been used for centuries, destroying all of the buildings all at once would mean destroying many historically significant structures. On the other hand, if you destroy all of the bricks at once, that brick rubble can be used as a filling or stabilizing material for infrastructure work, as an ingredient for poured concrete, or as an ingredient for calcium silicate. It can also be used as a plant substrate, allowing for the water to flow underneath the plant, as well as allowing the plant to break down organic materials in the area created underneath. In other words, brick rubble can be repurposed pretty easily. Nowadays, very few buildings actually use bricks for the primary construction material, but they are still used as a siding for houses in order to keep the elements out and allow for insulation. Now, on the road side of things, it's known that there are over 21 million kilometers of roads in the world. By removing all of the roads, you cut off the routes that most people would take to move nearly anything, causing a mass global slowdown for any movement of equipment and items and merchandise. Imports, exports, and even in-state exchange would become much slower. Building highways from scratch can easily take a few years. Now, because the drainage systems would still stay intact, it'll cut down on the overall time for building. And if all the governments of the world focus exclusively on fixing the issue, it would be sped up exponentially, but it would still be a very slow process to recover all of the damage. Overall, I would say that turning all of the bricks in the world into cubes would be better because you can do a lot more with what happens afterwards, and it wouldn't cause as much mass destruction and probably not as much death. This next question comes from someone by the name of Mike H. Would you rather have literally explosive shits or pee so hard you go flying every single time? On the pee side of things, assuming that the average human weight is about 160 pounds, then you would need a minimum of 161 pounds of force, but probably more to go flying. The first thing that came to my mind when I realized this is that maybe you could use it as a water cutter, but unfortunately, the pressure inside of your genitalia would only reach about 1,000 psi, whereas many pressure cutters get as high as 50 to 60,000 psi. You could pretty easily kill someone with this much force though, meaning you could use this as a weapon. You can probably push it more in order to increase the strength at the sacrifice of length of time. And with that, you could theoretically fly with it, but you would need to be able to pee for a very long time and to be able to control it very well in order to make it worth it. Whenever you need to use the bathroom, you're almost definitely going to miss the bowl every single time and probably gonna break something in your bathroom on a regular basis. Therefore, you'll probably have to go outside and risk getting seen. And if you get caught, you're probably getting kidnapped by the government and being used for their experiments. Now, on the other side of it, I'm going to assume that one loaf is equivalent to about one stick of dynamite. Now, this means you can never go to the bathroom indoors ever again, and you would probably need a bomb-proof shelter or somewhere in the middle of nowhere to use as the bathroom. You could easily use this as a weapon as well, and if you work with the government, you could essentially just start dropping bombs for them. It's up to you whether you think this would be a good or a bad thing. This would also imply that this ability is almost exclusively offensive. Unless you want to start a construction company with this, but I think that's kind of a shitty way to do it. Now, what would explosive diarrhea look like? Would that level a town? Would that just be your house? All I know is that if you take the ability, hopefully you're not lactose intolerant. Overall, I would say that the piss would be a little bit less of a pain in the butt to work around. This last question for the day is going to come from Jerry with a single R. Would you rather have no refractory period or a 2-week long refractory period? Now, a refractory period is the period of time after an orgasm during which you have virtually no sex drive. This is also referred to as post-nut clarity. Nobody actually understands the physiological reason for a refractory period existing, but I know that by not having one, you would in essence be losing the post-nut clarity. You could, however, become unstoppable in the eyes of the other sex and use your newfound powers to keep going until both parties are satisfied. As well as this, masturbation would no longer be limited, and maybe as a result of this, one of your arms could become extremely powerful. Again, up to you whether or not this is a good thing. For many people, this is a dream come true, but if you have absolutely no self-control, this could easily facilitate a stronger addiction to masturbation or sex. On the other side of it, by having a 2-week long refractory period, you would in essence have a 2-week long post-nut clarity. The times that you do ejaculate would become godlike in quality, but you would have to schedule your sexual encounters around this. Now, people who have their sex drive dictate most of their actions would have many of their problems solved by this, and their production when they're not in heat would increase tenfold. And this would also, as a result of that, help people who are already addicted to porn or masturbation. Overall, I'm going to say that the 2-week long refractory period is probably better, just because I think that nutting is a little bit overrated. That's going to be it for today. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer on the next one of these videos, just leave it in a comment below, and I'll see if I can get to it. I'll see you guys next time.